to introduce our last speaker, Dr. Gauresh Palekar, who is based out from Mumbai. Dr. Gauresh Palekar is based out of Mumbai and has a vast experience of 24 years in orthopedics with a vast experience, and as a member of National Osteonecrosis Foundation USA. He is associated with the Surya Orthopedic Clinic, Saifi Hospital, Breach Candy Hospital, Wokhart Hospital, HN Reliance Hospital, Motiben Dalvi Hospital in Mumbai. And the topic the sir is going to present is cell therapy to treat avascular necrosis, short-term and long-term results. And sir is very famous for his treatment for avascular necrosis with stem cell therapies. So hope we'll get more information about the short-term and long-term results after the cell therapy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think my voice is clear, and I want to thank everyone for taking time out on Saturday and being here. Without further ado, I will just start my talk. So, this is what I feel is that now I think because of COVID, there is the AVN is suddenly into focus. But I feel that there is a paradigm shift in the treatment of early avascular necrosis because of the use of cultured osteoblasts. Having said that, I've been using this thing for the last uh, close to 11 years, and I'm very happy with the treatment of it. I will try to show you some of my work and explain the rationale behind it. Now, as I said, that the hip preservation is very important, as Dr. Rajkumar said, because there are basically because of COVID, the chances of AVN has increased, and a lot of them would collapse further and require total hip replacement within 3 to 4 years. Unfortunately, it affects mostly young people, and it involves bilateral in more than 75% of the cases. Actually, the predominant cause of hip arthritis in India is basically AVN. So my talk is to basically build a convincing case for use of osteoblast in AVN. First and foremost, I'd like to come out with that it is not actually avascular necrosis, but it is osteonecrosis. And for treating this, you do not really require to restore the blood supply. Second is that, according to me, core decompression is a palliative therapy, and currently I feel the role of core decompression is a way of delivering various materials into the femoral head. So nowadays, what is required is you do core decompression plus this thing, and the role of core decompression is a way to deliver or as an approach you are using it. Finally, staging and grading of osteonecrosis is equally important. I will tell you what I mean. Then cultured osteoblast versus VMAC, what is according to me or whatever is the current literature over that. And finally, results of earlier osteonecrosis of over a decade. Now, like I said, avascular necrosis is not the right word. It is actually osteonecrosis, but still we do not know what is the cause of osteonecrosis. There is a lot of evidence which shows that the bone cells undergo multiple insults, and the end result is basically avascular bone. So it can be because of abnormal bone cells, decreased regenerative pool capacity, or decreased stem cell pool. Either way, what is the end result is basically osteonecrotic cells, that is the death of the bone cells in the femoral head. Second thing is that whenever we talk about a disease, we talk about two things, or whenever we need to prognosticate a disease. For example, a cancer surgeon, whenever he talks about a cancer or prognosis of a cancer, he will talk about two things. First is the grade of the tumor cells, and second is the stage at which it was diagnosed. I think for avascular necrosis, we need to think in those terms. Because for prognostication of avascular necrosis, we need two classifications which are already being used. First is, I feel, to stage the disease. So if it is an early stage disease or it's a late stage disease, we know by doing the FICAT and ARLE classification, which Dr. Amit has already very nicely shown. And to know the grading of osteonecrosis, there are already two very good classifications available. The original one by Steinberg, and which was adapted later as a ARCO classification. So Piquet and Arlet, everybody is known that basically it is a spherical head, collapse, and finally lead to arthritis, grade 1 to 4. But what is important is the Steinberg or the ARCO classification. And why is it so important? Because it gives us a quantitative involvement of the femoral head. Now, as Dr. Amit has already said, the location of the femoral head, medial, central, or lateral is important. How much is the surface collapse is important. How much is the size of the crescent which is important. And finally, where is the area which is involved? It is important. Now, why are these important? It's because you may have a femoral head which is a grade 1 Piquet and Arlet. So it's just diagnosed. The patient has had a hip pain and the patient comes to your clinic, and because you are aware about AVN, you ordered an MRI, and on the MRI you find that there is a AVN. Now, when you are looking at a grade 1 Piquet and Arlet, it does not mean that it is not going to progress. How, if it is going to progress or if it is not going to progress, you are going to know by only application of this classification. So, for example, if the patient has got around 40 to 50% femoral head involvement, the area of involvement is in the lateral zone, and the size of the crescent is fairly large, then there is, as of now, no treatment for this AVN to prevent progression other than what I feel like this Osgrove treatment. Because if you see the results of all the other treatment in this particular subgroup of the cases, then they are the ones with highest possibility of progression. Actually, the possibility of progression in this subgroup is going to be 80% progression irrespective of the treatment. So even though your Piquet and Arlet is grade 1 or stage 1, it has got a very high grade of AVN. So these are the at-risk signs where only core decompression, according to me, would not work. So if you are having any of these signs when you are looking at a patient of AVN, then I feel that you require to do something more than core decompression therapy. So there are a lot of papers on core decompression, and right now I feel that it works very good as a palliative surgery because it decreases the bone edema and it decreases the hip pain. But whenever there is this subgroup or subclassification of ARCO, then core decompression does not work, and there are more than 90% failures when it is treated in this subgroup. And these are some of the Huijan in 2016 reported that even in stage 2 Piquet and Arlet, only success rate of around 14% for a core decompression, whether it was done by a small drill or a large drill, irrespective of treatment. Papakostidos, when he applied cell therapy, and now we are talking about cell therapy in all its forms and types, he found that use of cell therapy decreased the chances of femoral head collapse by 5 times as compared to the control group in which only core decompression was done. Now, why I feel that osteoblasts are the future? How are they different from a BMAC or from a bone marrow? Osteoblasts are the future because osteoblasts are the only bone forming cells in the body. There are no other bone forming cells. So if you want bone, then you require osteoblasts. It's as simple as that. Because if you are going to inject anything else, then they have to get converted into osteoblastic cells, and then you are going to they are going to be used by the body. This was a very educational X-ray to me when I think this is not my patient but somebody else's patient, where the patient wanted a second opinion about how his hips are doing after this Osgood therapy. And when he sent me this X-ray, I found this very instructive. What has happened is that if you can see that there are some spillover of cells on the lateral cortex of the femur, and this is how the bone has formed even in a heterogeneous area. So osteoblast injection or osteoblast insertion into the femoral head will lead to definite new bone formation or new osteogenesis. This is basically the process of osteoblast. First is the bone marrow is harvested. In second, this bone marrow is then sent to the lab. It is cultured. And once the final cell therapy product is ready, then it is injected into the femoral head. How I inject it, I will show you. Okay, so these are the steps of this autologous bone implantation process. The key steps of what we are doing is basically first stage is, like I said, mesenchymal stem cell harvesting from the bone marrow. Second is we do a co-decompression, and in addition to co-decompression, as you can see that I am doing this kind of forage. Now what is forage? Forage is basically curating of the femoral head from inside. What it is that I feel that we are decreasing the burden of the bone. Second is that it allows for wider dissipation of these osteoblastic cells, which, because they are in a gel form, they are able to dissipate very well, and as a result of it, there is a faster growth. Third thing is that there is a gel-based delivery system, because of which if anybody is injected BMAC or something like that, because it's in a liquid form, there is a lot of spillover which happens, and there is the BMAC flows out and things like that. This does not happen because it's a gel-based delivery system. So the moment you inject it, it forms a gel and it doesn't flow anymore. So the gel is delivered inside the femoral head. And finally, what I feel is very, very important is basically we get a certain number of differentiated cells. A certain, that is, we are assured by help of a report that we are going to get 50 lakh cells. 50 million cells we are getting, sorry, 50 million cells are what we get in our hands of osteoblasts. Now, as you are aware, basically Gangji and Hosier, they did a co-decompression plus saline and co-decompression plus BMAC, and they found that there was no significant difference between a BMAC and co-decompression and saline. Also, Gangji is the one who has a similar product in current clinical trial, and her results, which were published in 2016, shows a definite difference between a osteoblastic cell implant and just a bone marrow implant in femoral head. In India also, we have conducted Osgrowth phase 3 clinical trial, and we were very happy with this. It was conducted at multiple places all over India. This is my own paper where I have published recently of my earliest patients, which were operated in the year 2010 and 2012. And I'm very happy that whenever I have chosen the right patient, that is grade 2 and A and B, that is pre-collapse stage, all these patients had a remarkable reduction in the Harris-Hipp score, and the Harris-Hipp score was very high. It was in the high 90s or 85 to 90, which is around good to excellent, and a reduction in VAS and Oxford Hip score, which was maintained for such a long period of time. This is another multicentric trial conducted in India where more than 101 patients or 101 hips were looked at, and we found out that irrespective of whether it was done in grade 2 or grade 4 hips, the patient had a reduction in pain. Now, there are a lot of people would ask that why were this operated. Grade 4 hips were chosen for this. Basically, this was a paper where we wanted to look at whether there was any pain reduction with the use of these osteoblastic cells, and we were very happy to say that this was good. However, this is not a very long duration paper. So the grade 4 hips were only of 1 year duration. Now, what are the contraindications of this procedure? The absolute contraindication, according to me, is that grade 3 and grade 4 osteonecrosis. I don't think we should operate by this, because I feel that total hip replacement is the only salvage once there is a change in the sphericity of the femoral head. However, in grade 2B hips, where there is less than 2 mm depression, I think we can definitely use this therapy. Second is that those avascular necrosis which are associated with renal transplant, they have to be on cytotoxic drugs. So this is, I would say, no. Second is severe sickle cell disease, where the patient has got multiple sickling crisis. Again, I don't think this is the right therapy for that. So these are the basic contraindications. Another thing is that recently I've started seeing patients with a complete femoral head necrosis. This is the first time I'm seeing it, and all of them have got COVID. Again, I'm little bit hesitant to do it in these cases because I don't know where the blood supply or revascularization is going to happen from. So this is one more, according to me, a contraindication. Now I'll show a few cases again where you need to make the right choice. Here you can see that there is a delamination of cartilage on MRI. Now, if you look closely, there is a nice white line which appears there on P2, and this line basically represents the delaminated cartilage. You will see that in such a hip, there is no point in operating such a hip because the fate of this hip is already sealed. Like I said, this is another COVID specialty where more than 90% of the femoral head is involved. In this patient, I was able to convince him, though he had got a fairly spherical head, but once you open up this patient, you can see that there is no way that this can get revascularized because the whole femoral head is basically dead. Another relative contraindication would be an avascular necrosis with FAI. Now, if you see, since I'm seeing a lot of hips and a lot of hip X-rays, there is, I feel that quite a few of the patients, Indian population probably, have got a significant amount of FAI. And here, as you can see, though the head has got is reasonably spherical, and I would say less than 2 millimeter depression here, but the patient already has got arthritis because of FAI. So the patient will not be completely happy. Relative contraindications would be for patients on low dose steroids. I have operated quite a few of them and they are doing very well. So for example, for glomerulonephritis, if the patient is taking 5 milligrams or 2.5 milligrams of prednisolone, then I think it's okay. AVN associated with inflammatory joint, this is where the joint is not yet involved. For example, RA and ankylosing spondylitis. The people may go for their life without involvement of the hip, so might as well give them a chance. If there is if there is significant FAI, but the patient understands this. And finally, I'm not very sure about the full femoral head involvement. Again, also we can consider leukemias and lymphoma who had to take steroids, but now they are going to be off all steroids and considered cured. So what is the biggest advantage of this procedure? According to me, the biggest advantage of this procedure is that it does not burn any bridges. So for example, if for some reason the patient the surgery does not work and the patient has to have had a total hip replacement, it is not like fibula or a Sugioka's osteotomy or like any other osteotomy where the patient will face a lot of problems in getting a primary hip replacement done. That's the reason why I think this is a very, very important procedure. In addition to that, we are able to preserve the head. So the patients can do all natural activities like sitting, squatting, and whatever we are normally doing. Finally, the fear of a total hip replacement or of positioning themselves in certain ways and things like that, and that is also a big advantage of doing this procedure. And because we are able to basically preserve the head. Now I'll show you a few good results of mine. And this is a patient of 5 years post-op. Absolutely, this was a grade 2A AVN female patient, 5 years post-op, absolutely normal hips. These are the patients now. Probably I've operated her for 7 years ago, but these are results at 5 years. I do not see them anymore because they are absolutely normal. Again, bilateral stage 2 lesion at 9 years. This is another hip, single side hip, absolutely normal, well functioning hip. This is one of my earliest patients, grade 2B. This guy was. I had operated him in Orissa, and he's completed, I think now 10 years post-operatively, and he's absolutely pain-free. So what I would like to tell you is that all these patients they have done remarkably well. The choice of cases and the choice of which cases you choose is very important, according to me. And if you choose the right way, I think it is these patients would benefit a lot. And especially with the epidemic of avascular necrosis, which we will be facing soon, or we are already onto it, I think this definitely therapy warrants consideration. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.